Simon Reeve goes beyond the picture postcards and discovers the real Greece in 40 minutes. First here on BBC Two, Katie Durham serves up the BBC Proms Extra. It's the last night of Proms Extra. We have 3 fabulous guests, we take a look at 2 great pianists, and we have a solo performance by a top Northern lass. Let the final countdown begin. Hello and welcome to Proms Extra. If the Proms is Mary Berry, then we're Paul Hollywood. And just like Bake Off, the Royal Albert Hall is full of rising stars. Next Saturday, it will all be over for this year's Proms. We're just about holding it together for our last show. Let's see who's joining me inside the Royal College of Music, and I must warn you, be prepared for a 6 degrees of separation moment or 3. Our first guest is a leading soprano of the operatic world. Next week, she's off to Belfast to sing for the last night of the Proms celebrations there. When it comes to performing with the top opera houses, she has been there, done that. And most recently received glowing reviews for her role as a lavatory lady in Mark Simpson's opera Pleasure. Less Lady of the Lamp, more Lady of the Lamp. Please welcome Leslie Garrett, who will also be performing for us at the end of the show. Now, our next guest is an award-winning clarinetist and composer. He's had a busy old time of it this year, what with the London premiere of his piece Israfel at the Proms, and earlier in the year saw the premiere of his opera Pleasure, which starred a certain Leslie Garrett. Please welcome Mark Simpson. And our final guest paid a visit to Proms Extra 3 years ago. This week, she made her Proms debut conducting the BBC Symphony Orchestra. About time! As you have just heard, Leslie starred in the opera called Pleasure, written by our guest Mark Simpson. The concluding link in our 6 degrees of separation is that our final guest went to see it when she was last over. Please welcome the world-renowned conductor, Simone Young. Well, welcome all of you. Leslie, last night at the Proms in Belfast.
Yes.
That'll be fun.
Oh, are you kidding? I can't tell you how much fun it is. The Northern Irish really know how to party, and I'm so looking forward to it. I've taken a couple of days off after, so I might just need that to recover.
Now, Mark, you performed as a clarinetist last year at the Proms, but this year it was all about you as the composer. How was it?
It was quite a thrilling experience because I couldn't attend any of the rehearsals because I was in rehearsals for another project. So I had to kind of bomb it down to the Albert Hall and back in the same evening. And it was quite a surreal experience going to see a piece that you'd written, having not been to any rehearsals. So to walk in, sit down and also just play, it was quite surreal, but
so
it was
you just
brilliant.
like an ordinary member
just
of the
kind of like a member of the public.
Yeah.
Usually
Weird.
you're kind of bound up in the kind of the nerves of the premiere and having finished edits and working with orchestras, and so it was quite a relaxing experience and quite enjoyable actually.
And Simone, your Proms debut, you heard my tone earlier. I cannot believe it was your Proms debut, but how was it? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, look, it's a very special atmosphere, the Proms. You've got the public awfully close, which is quite surprising at first. But the BBC Symphony, great orchestra. We had a wild programme of music, very well known and completely unknown and brand new. So it was very satisfying. And yes, I'll be taking a couple of days off now to recover before the next project.
Well, we're expecting you 3 to be a little opinionated, so don't hold back. Now, let's turn to a conductor you cannot ignore, Daniel Barenboim, and the work that he's done with the West Eastern Divan Orchestra, an ensemble that is deliberately comprised of Arab and Israeli members, which Daniel co-founded with his friend, the Palestinian writer and critic, Edward Said. But for once, he wasn't the only star of the show. That honour went to Barenboim's childhood friend, the legendary pianist Marta Argerich, who gave the audience this performance of Liszt's Piano Concerto. Shown last Sunday on BBC4, that was pianist Marta Argerich performing Liszt's first piano concerto, accompanied by the West Eastern Divan Orchestra, conducted by Daniel Barenboim. And what a night it was. Simone, Marta Argerich, we describe her as legendary. She is considered one of the finest pianists in the world. Did you
Absolutely.
feel that her performance stood up to that?
Completely extraordinary, as she always is every time she performs. The real chemistry, the real relationship between these two fantastic musicians, I think you feel it, and particularly in a work like this, which is a work that Barenboim himself performs many, many times at the keyboard. So, you know, there's just a level of music making going on that is above and beyond what most of us get to experience.
And am I right in thinking you have actually conducted him playing that piece?
I have indeed. Yeah, it was
Come on, Sim.
one of those round birthdays that one prefers to forget.
Oh, 21, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had been Daniel's assistant back in the 90s. And for this particular birthday, Daniel came and played actually both Liszt piano concertos with me and my orchestra in Hamburg, the Hamburg Philharmonic. And we did an all Liszt program. And he is a most extraordinary, inspiring. There is a reason why one says already legendary about him, and it is because he's one of the musical greats of our time. And you mentioned Said, and that is for me, I mean, that's Barenboim. He is philosopher, thinker, musician, poet, politician. He is the consummate artist.
When you're performing as a conductor with him as a soloist, does he say anything to you about how he wants it to be conducted, or does he leave it to you? It must be hard for him, having had both hats on.
Well, and also because it doesn't matter if it was 25 years ago, it's still not quite student-teacher, but definitely sort of apprentice-mentor kind of relationship, now moved on to the next level.
So how did you handle that?
I was very nervous, and he was immensely gracious. And we had one of those glorious experiences that you keep for a lifetime. And the beautiful thing about making music with great human beings is that it's about what they think, because they stand above the technical requirements. That's a given. Then it's about how you think about the work. What do you want to say with a phrase? And it's immensely inspiring.
But also with somebody like him, him particularly, who has this fantastic imagination, no two performances are ever going to be the same, are they? You know, he will bounce off you, and you will bounce off him,
Absolutely.
and that will make a new magic.
And it's that communication that creates something very, very special.
It's not just cerebral, though, is it? It's not just about the intellect. It's also about the humanity and the warmth of the soul.
All of that.
One of the things that really struck me about Marta's performance was actually how quiet and the quiet sections were, how vulnerable they were, and listening to her talk about vulnerability beforehand, and what she said, that she actually likes to hear this in music, you know, not necessarily wrong notes everywhere and kind of people, but a sense that we can actually push that kind of boundary to a limit and really kind of.
But it's the vulnerability that makes the audience care about you.
Yes.
If you are perfect all the time, well, that's going to get pretty dull after a while. It's that vulnerability that makes an audience member want to care for you, that makes the performance come alive. It's why live performance is so special.
So special. But also you have to marvel at her strength. I mean, those opening chords. This is a woman who's just celebrated her 75th birthday, you know, and we're not going to talk about age because it doesn't matter at all. Because she is at the height, she seems to me to be at the height of her powers, because her powers, her spiritual powers, her powers of interpretation and of appreciation of the music, which are like that with Daniel's, do take it to this extra level.
Well, at the end of the performance of the Liszt, at the end of the night then, came an encore, which saw Daniel join his childhood friend Marta at the piano, and we can see now these two old friends in action. The encore to end all encores, Marta Argerich and her childhood friend Daniel Barenboim at the piano together in harmony. And apparently they used to learn together in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, when they were children. I mean, does it affect your performance if you're playing with really good friends? I mean, proper off-stage friends, not just on-stage colleagues.
Got no friends.
Got no mates.
No, not only. No.
Billy, no mates.
Dangerous, actually. Dangerous because you can slip into just a little language of your own, things only you understand. You have to still keep the discipline. If you're up there on the stage, people are expecting a performance, and although I think in an encore situation, I think people would have loved it.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
they
People
had a giggle.
love to have the feeling they've walked into somebody's living room.
Yes.
But yeah, I think, I know as a conductor, I mean, we're lucky. We get to perform with our backs to the audience, so you don't see all the stupid things we do with our faces a lot of the time. And I know when I'm conducting singers who happen to be really good friends, and you know what's going on in their lives, you know what they're going through, and you know what it costs them to come out on stage and give that performance. I would do anything for them. I would just about lay down my life for them in that moment, because you know what that means.
Well, you can't at my concert. That's the most lovely thing I've ever heard.
But there's 5% of my brain that has to say, but damn it, get it right.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, that was a great encore. I mean, Mark, how do you choose or plan an encore?
I don't do many encores, really, to be honest.
People don't like the way it plays that.
I won't answer the question. No, I tell you, we had a great experience recently. I did a trio concert with Pierre Leronimar and Antoine Tamisted, and we had 5 curtain calls, and then we didn't prepare an encore. We just had to play something because they just didn't start clapping. They wanted more, so we played the third movement of the Schumann again.
You didn't prepare an encore.
You do have friends.
We didn't expect.
Off the cuff then.
Well, no, it was a repeat of the piece they just played.
I'm getting the impression you've always got an encore up your sleeve.
At least one, probably 3. You never know.
Well, if you want to experience some of that joy, you can go to the BBC iPlayer and you can see Marta's performance, the encore, indeed the full concert with the West Eastern Divan Orchestra under Daniel Barenboim. Now, the end is near. It is time to face the final curtain as David Owen Norris gives us the last chord of the week, and he's doing it his way. This chord comes from another moment in that Barenboim concert.
The illegal chord that Wagner makes when he plays 3 of his master singers' tunes together. At the top, Walter's prize song. In the middle, a little fanfare. And in the bass, the dignified theme of the master singers themselves. All very C major, so Wagner can simply put them together as counterpoint. Let's just run that past the master of counterpoint, Johann Sebastian Bach. He'd have viewed our chord of the week with great suspicion. Mr. Wagner, you've broken the rules. This 6/4 chord is both unprepared and exposed. We will alter the bass. Dear Mr. Wagner, you've done it again. We will alter the melody. Oh, the tenor's already learnt it, has he? No point messing with that then. I'll do the work of months. We will introduce a counter melody to reinterpret the dissonance. I think we might rescue this after all. But that was all a century before, and luckily Wagner was Wagner, so he could do exactly as he liked.
Parting is such sweet sorrow. That was the last time we'll see David Owen Norris and his chord of the week, for now. Still to come on Proms Extra, we'll be taking a look at the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra's debut with their new music director, and we have a performance by our guest Leslie Garrett, who's still with me, together with composer and clarinetist Mark Simpson and conductor Simone Young. As you know, Proms Extra likes to get close to the stars, if they let us, and we were beyond excited when the celebrated pianist Stephen Huff, who is also a great friend of ours here at Proms Extra, opened up the doors to his world so we could see what it takes for him to prepare for a prom.
So at the moment, here we are in my studio. This is where the real work is done. I'm preparing for the Proms to play the Rachmaninoff Rhapsody on the theme of Paganini. When I sit down at the piano, I usually begin by just playing some chords. used to make friends again with my instrument. Now, if you've been lying in bed for 7 hours asleep, nothing's going on here. You can't just sit down at the piano and suddenly start playing. And so I've rediscovered exercises when I read about Rachmaninoff himself, who apparently used to spend an hour a day doing physical exercises at the piano. And I thought that's rather a lot, actually. I don't think there are any pianists around who would admit to doing so much, but I like to do some. This is a flexibility and agility exercise. It's not just how the fingers go down onto the keys, it's also the flexibility from side to side, so that you're opening up the joints and the tendons of the hand. Music has nothing to do with it at all. It's purely mechanical. It's just like someone about to do a sprint stretching their legs before they do it. It's physical. It's the Olympics. You know, when we play the piano, we're actually using muscles and tendons and joints, and we're using our whole body when we play the piano. It's not just fingers, even wrists, even elbows, even shoulders. It's the whole back which allows you to create any kind of sound which will be heard at the back of the Albert Hall. So now I'm at Maida Vale. The orchestra's rehearsing in Studio 1. Once you're with the orchestra, there has to be a meeting of minds. There's a little, not level of anxiety, but a level of excitement. Now we're on the threshold. At home, when you're practicing, there's any number of thousands of possibilities. Once you're actually in a rehearsal with the clock ticking away and not much time, you have to decide on one of those possibilities and join it with the orchestra. Maybe the oboist takes a little bit more time on one solo, and so I have to go with that, and then maybe I want to take a little bit more time. The conductor's listening, he's adjusting. What we're doing now is we're laying out the path. It's routine this afternoon. We want to save something of the excitement for tomorrow, so we can turn it on and it will be the performance. I can't get out of bed and rush down to the Albert Hall and be able to play. I need to get up a couple of hours before, get the adrenaline flowing. But that whole day, I want to feel at ease with myself. I like to eat sushi. It's my favorite lunchtime food on the concert day. It's nutritious but not too heavy. So it's an hour to go before the concert. I'm here in the dressing room at the Royal Albert Hall, underneath the stage. I want to warm up. I'm not going to practice the piece itself very much. You can over-practice, you really can. Sometimes I feel particularly nervous. You know, there are times when you just don't want to go out and play. So that has to be overcome. I'm chewing some gum. It helps my concentration, takes away nerves. And so now I just need to get changed in my concert clothes, my concert shoes. They're very light pumps. I like them because I can pedal very lightly. They're kind of fun looking as well. And then really it's just watching the clock until the moment when they tell me I'm due on stage. So when I'm standing in the wings, I just try to avoid superstitions, because when they don't work, then your mind starts playing other games with you. Is that about ready? You can have that kind of freeze of the brain. Just physically, you start thinking, oh gosh, where's middle C? Oh yes, it's that. This is the joy of live music. Of course, we're all prepared, and we know what Rachmaninoff wants, we know what we want, but then on the night, it has to have a certain sense of spontaneity as well. Should we do it? Okay. I don't really know how I'm going to play this piece tonight, completely.
The renowned pianist Stephen Huff, and an insight into how he prepped for his Proms concert. I mean, Simone, how did you get ready for your Proms debut?
Well, it was a little strange, actually, I have to say, because of the intensity of what's going on in the Albert Hall. The dress rehearsal was in the afternoon, immediately before the concert, and I'm much more used to the German system where you have the dress rehearsal in the morning, go and have lunch, go and get your hair done, have a lie down, get up, get ready for the evening. So I had to completely rethink my day, which meant I was ravenous after the concert because I'd never found the right time to have a meal. But no, it's about the mental preparation.
And how about your preparation for your Belfast Proms in the Park last night of the Proms experience? Will you have a special little ritual? Or?
Yes, I think we all probably do. We have a little routine. I wouldn't say it's a ritual, that's just, too much. But the thing I'm doing all the time, though, is reciting my words, going over the words. The words are the thing that, for a singer, I think is the most terrifying.
Have you ever had one of those moments where you've been sort of having to be a bit creative with the words?
Oh, more than once. Absolutely. The things I've made rhyme.
Ira Gershwin would be proud. Yes. Any rituals for you, Mark, or are you a calm, confident performer?
It depends on what piece and what occasion.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, last year when I did a Nielsen at the Proms, that was an incredibly daunting experience for me. It's relentless and it just goes non-stop, and there's nothing like it. So for that kind of marathon, I mean, I just spent the 3 hours running around the back, the back of the Albert Hall like a headless chicken. So,
So it wasn't some
it
sort of
wasn't the
zen-like
best.
moment of
No.
calm.
I couldn't. No, it was pretty scary.
Well, last year, the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra's concert with their outgoing conductor, Andrew Nelsons, was one of the Proms highlights of that season, especially as it was his last concert with the orchestra before he headed off to pastures new. A lot of talk ensued as to who could or would or indeed should fill his shoes, and a few names were whispered. But after an extensive search, it was announced that the Lithuanian conductor, Mirga Gražinytė-Tyla, was on board. Here she is in action. That was Mirga Gražinytė-Tyla making her Proms debut, conducting the CBSO in the overture from Mozart's The Magic Flute. And Simone, give us the lowdown here. Mirga has, well, she's made everybody very excited. What is it about her that makes this one to watch?
Well, she has everything. I mean, this is a young conductor of incredible intellectual strength. She's got a seriously impressive CV. This is a very, very serious and impressive young musician. And for me, the answer to everything is that the orchestra, the musicians, wanted her.
Yeah.
And I think that's just brilliant. I think she follows in a very clear line from the previous appointments at CBSO. They have a real tradition of taking, as many people would say, a gamble on somebody young, relatively I mean, relatively inexperienced. You might say Andrus was also very young when he got the job there, and I think, wow, it's pretty exciting, and it's what makes Birmingham a very special orchestra. This is, I think it's a fantastic appointment, and I think, well, I'm just terribly excited that she's really hitting mainstream, because she's a world star in the making.
And apparently trained as a choral conductor, Leslie. I don't know if you can see that singing background.
You can completely see that, because she has the music in her face. That's the thing that immediately impresses me, that you look at her and you see the whole score, you see the music, you see the excitement and the passion and the way that she wants you to make music. Because for me, when young kids ask me, what's a conductor for? You know,
I'll leave now.
I mean, a conductor is absolutely for clarity of movement and understanding of where the music must happen, and she has that in spades. But much more importantly, that a conductor has to show you the music, give you the music, show you where the music's going to go, and make sure everybody involved is going on the same path. And you can just see that in her face. And she's obviously been a choral conductor. She has this lovely long neck, which is fantastic, because she's conducting to the back all the time. You can see she's inspiring the chorus behind the orchestra all the time. And for me, that's just wonderful. Love to see it.
As well as Mozart's The Magic Flute, the audience had the London premiere of Hans Abrahamsson's Let Me Tell You, which featured the soprano Barbara Hannigan. Let's take a look. Barbara Hannigan performing with the CBSO, performing an excerpt from Hans Abrahamsson's Let Me Tell You. And Mark, This has won many awards. It's a wonderful new work. I think it was written in 2013, and I know you're a big fan. Tell us a little bit about it.
Hans Abrahamson, for me, is one of the most kind of innovative composers working today. He has this brilliant kind of clarity in his harmony, in his orchestration. This work, which was written for Barbara Hannigan in the Berlin Phil, 2013, takes the novella of Paul Griffiths with the same title, Let Me Tell You, which in itself is a novella built on all of the words from Ophelia's speech in Hamlet and reimagined. And so Barbara, she approached Hans and asked him to do something with this. And in that, he kind of extrapolates another kind of understanding of Ophelia. The piece has this absolutely kind of intoxicating, kind of inward-looking kind of expressivity. To me, there's a calmness and a beauty, and I think Barbara is. When it was written specifically for her, she has a beautiful voice, especially these gorgeous kind of crystalline top notes, which kind of just come out of the text just from nowhere. And it you know, as a kind of an orchestral statement, an artistic statement, it's not overbearing. It's not kind of shouting at you to say anything other than just come into this world and listen to what I have to say. And that's one of the reasons why I like this particular piece, and also Hans Abrahamson's music in general.
And Leslie, is this a sound world that appeals to you?
Oh, very much so, very much so. What I am particularly impressed by is the way that Hans has taken Ophelia's nature and imbued it into the music. Ophelia, as we know, is a fragile creature, sees the world in a otherworldly way, perhaps. And you absolutely get that in the sound world. It's beautifully sonorous and filigree. You can hear so many interesting details and textures. And I think Barbara sings it beautifully. And she would, because he wrote it for her. I've had the great pleasure of having a role written for me by this fabulous composer sitting here on my left, even though it was a toilet attendant and nothing as wonderful as Ophelia.
No.
My darling foot. You know what I mean? But there is a very special magic that happens when a composer writes a piece specifically for you. My only worry about this piece is that it's very difficult to hear the words on the first hearing. I know they were printed in the programme, and I'm glad of that. And I think on television it's easier to hear them because you get up close and personal to the face. But I wonder whether the people in the hall could actually hear the words. And I would have liked to have seen surtitles, just so that the poetry could have been understood and appreciated. But I wouldn't. It's difficult, this, because, you know, words, nothing's repeated. Traditionally in opera, for instance, you know, that is why things are repeated, so eventually you get the words. And that would be completely inappropriate in this kind of music. And there are these beautiful filigree high notes, which I agree are exquisite. You can't put a word on a note like that. So again, it just makes a bit of a problem. But I think with modern technology, and that's the beauty of it, we can get round that. And I really love it. I'd love to have a go at it myself. I think it's gorgeous.
You can see Barbara Hannigan's performance as conducted by Mirga Grajanita Tilau with the CBSO tomorrow on BBC4 at 7 o'clock. Proms Extra is almost at an end, but it would be rude of us to leave without taking a reflective look at the music, the guests and the drama that have made up this unique 2016 Proms season. What a great sight. 164 pumped-up teenagers on a Saturday night, giving it some in a hall in South Kensington.
Quincy's the man. Cheeky motifs and earworms. He's the genius of earworms.
You're showing young people how cool an orchestra can be.
It's just wonderful to have music in surprising situations.
One of the players said to me afterwards, it's hard to play when you're constantly being reminded there's a 70% discount in one of the shops.
I like that people can engage in lots of different ways with music.
Put you there where things are hollow. Oh, let's look at hashtag Bowie Proms. And then I saw this huge list of hating messages. Now, I love a bit of controversy. I would actually rather there be a bit of controversy than everything go swimmingly wonderful. Oh, it was great crack.
What's going on with those bastard chords?
Is Rachmaninoff your kind of music?
Oh, so much. You know, everything we ever drank beer to and went, oh, wow, man.
I mean, people don't write tunes like that anymore. It was brilliant to have these spirituals. They seemed out of context, but then they worked.
It's a safety and numbers thing. We will prevail. We will get through the dark side and we'll come through.
incredibly powerful, still pertinent and still very poignant.
I've never seen a string orchestra looking so happy.
It's the colour of the vibrato and the strings and the way you slide around in the woodwind.
You have a particularly tough first number, Julian.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Nice weather we are having, but it gives me such a pain. Gershwin's one of the great 20th century composers.
It's the wit of gin and vodka or something.
Oh my, ta-ta, goodbye. And a lot of musicians were saying, well, it was only a viola.
Oh, you see, now we're going to start with viola jokes. That's just whoa.
Pekka Kuusisto enjoys every moment he connects to the audience in a way that you just really lap at.
Great, this is the last verse.
I thought that you were going to do the moonwalk, actually.
Later.
Stay in tune for that.
It starts loud, stays loud, and gets louder. I was very much a sort of party animal cellist rather than a serious one. My speciality is playing with an orange, and I think you can see what it does to the strings.
Due to the orange.
The doors are going to be open very soon, and I think it is going to be packed pretty tightly.
2, 3, go. No running, please. I've touched the holy grail of the Proms, the rail.
Thank you.
7 weeks of Proms Extra done, and come this Saturday, all roads will lead to the annual pomp that is the last night of the Proms. In a moment, Leslie will be performing for us, and while she goes to get ready, I have another nugget from the Proms. If you missed the Simon Rattle last night, fear not, here's a little something for you to enjoy with your sherry. Was the Simon Rattle with the Berlin Philharmonic, shown last night on BBC 4. Now, there's just time for me to tell you that the last night of the Proms will be broadcast live, first on BBC 2, and the second half will follow on BBC 1, with yours truly at the helm. For the final time, I can tell you that many of the Proms broadcasts, including Proms Extra, are online, but not indefinitely. And remember that during this last week, as always, all of the Proms are broadcast live on BBC Radio 3 every night. But that is it for this evening. We are done for this current season. It only remains for me to say thank you to Mark Simpson and to Simone Young for joining me this evening, and thank you to Leslie Garrett, who will be performing in Belfast in the last night of the Proms celebrations there. But now, accompanied tonight by her pianist Anna Tilbrook, here she is with Beat Out That Rhythm on a Drum from the musical Carmen Jones. Goodbye. My heart is beating fast, and that's a rhythm I could dance to. I'm mighty glad I got a chance to dance from the heart that's beating fast. Tomorrow morning let it rain, tomorrow morning let it pour. Tonight we're in the groove together, ain't gonna worry about stormy weather. Gonna kick old trouble all the door.